Hey everyone, welcome to today's AMA. My name is Jason, the host for today's session. And today we are excited to be here with the Nibiru team to talk about privacy in Web3, integration, collaboration, community growth, and the future outlook for Nibiru. And before we dive into the questions, let's give our guest a chance to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Unique. I work on Nibiru, the CEO of the main development entity, and then one of the core developers on the project. Nibiru is a layer one blockchain similar to Oasis, focused on really fast execution, and then also support of like multiple VMs in tandem on the same chain. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Let's kick things off with a big question. And so how do you see privacy evolving in Web3? And what role do you think L1s like Oasis and also Nibiru can play in that shift?
Most of Web3 sits at two extremes, right? So everything's either fully transparent on public chain where you have like the block explorer and you can see every trade and all the wallet details, or it's fully opaque, like what happens with centralized exchanges. But people in the real world don't usually only have these two extremes. We have like something that's like a gray area, right? Like, so your bank knows your spending history, but the coffee shop only sees the one transaction that you make that morning in the coffee shop, right? And so I kind of see Web3 heading in that direction, right? Where you have context dependent privacy, right? So users and institutions will want to decide what's revealed and to whom and under what conditions. And so maybe like your collateral in a DeFi vault should be visible for proof of solvency, but then your trading strategy should remain hidden until it settles, right? And I would imagine an institution wants it for, maybe they want compliance officers to view transaction flows without competitors being able to spy on exactly what they're doing with their funds, right? So I guess for Nibiru, the foundation is more like fast, verifiable, composable execution. So where you have apps settle in real time, but as adoption grows, it'll be very useful to have, an extension to, incorporate privacy or at least have like confidential computation, which is, from what I read up on what Oasis offers. But yeah, that'd be my 2 cents on like, I guess the future of privacy in Web3 more broadly and in our context.
Yeah, I do agree on that as well. Like I think privacy in Web3 is becoming non-negotiable as user demands control over their data in AI, DeFi, and beyond, right? So Oasis is driving this shift with Roffer. It's our off-chain computing framework that uses TEE to ensure blockchain level trust for complex computations. Roffer also enables privacy preserving AI and financial applications, making it easier for other L1s like Nibiru to integrate confidential processing into their ecosystem. Together, I think we can build a Web3 where privacy is seamless, scalable, and developer-friendly, and at the core of accelerating mainstream adoption. And okay, so moving on to the next question. So from Oasis perspective, what privacy-related features do you believe Nibiru users would find most valuable? And I think for Nibiru users who prioritize performance in DeFi and gaming, I would say Roffer, privacy-preserving off-chain compute capability transformative. Roffer's TE enables secure, verifiable processing of sensitive data like trading strategy, like you mentioned just now, or any private data like user identities without exposing it on-chain. So this could enhance Nibiru's depth by adding confidentiality to transactions or any AI-driven features, all while maintaining high throughput. So the ability to integrate Roffer's privacy layer without chain migration would be a game changer for Nibiru, and also seeking trust and security. The other big part that TEE bring is confidential verifiability. So any application running within a TEE provides execution guarantees, meaning the output is actually coming from the app and not some devs in between. And yeah.
Okay, got it. So with I guess as a starting point in cross-chain applications, it's do you most foresee people using it for things in DeFi and like private collateralization, or like which other privacy-based apps are you seeing like interest for use of that sort of stack?
I think a good example is we recently have built this WT3 trading where like you said, like the strategy is being kept private, and also like the sensitive data sometimes can be kept private as well. But for the proof of reserve, it's something that you can choose to be fully public to the general public. So at least it provides more confidence as well. So I think, yeah. Okay, let's talk a little bit about integration or collaboration, right? So what might be a potential integration between Oasis and Nibiru look like in practice? Do you want to go
Right.
first?
So sure. So I mean, a natural starting point, like we touched on, is like cross-chain applications. So if we're just looking at a lot of the pillars like Nibiru focuses on, it's for like fast execution for DeFi primitives. So like perps, trading vaults, liquid staking derivatives, RWAs, right? And then basically just ways for people to get yield. And then on the Oasis side, um, does probably lots of things, but the main thing we're talking about today is like a confidential data handling and like being able to outsource, um, even if it's from another chain, like private computation. So I don't know what would be the most effective place to start, but I think as long as the focus is on making an application usable to groups that otherwise would sit on the sidelines, it's probably like in the right direction. So I think like we touched on, the private collateralization or strategies where you can post assets on Nibiru and use the essentially like DeFi apps and ecosystem without revealing your positions publicly would be like a pretty compelling one. Um, I guess a similar thing for like allocation rules. Like if someone can see that there's an overall balance of something, but then it get invested or placed into different positions without like revealing that. I know that that's like somewhat compelling to like institutions, for example. Those would be just kind of the two like low hanging fruit. But yeah, really, we would just have to like get connected to learn about the technical challenges. But both chains support like EVM first as like a primary, you know, hub for their apps. So it shouldn't be too complicated, I guess. But I definitely would have to like get connected with the Oasis dev team to see.
Yeah, to add on that as well, I think, like you said, right, we provide, Ruffle provide execution integrity and decentralized key management and on-chain policies, and even if needed, any transparent multi-sig governance. And we have recently helped Telos to be Ruffleized. So Telos is an Arbitrum and Ethereum supported treasury management agent. So I think for Nibiru, like the best part is that you guys don't need to port anything to Oasis. So all the smart contract and app logic stays on Nibiru. They just need to utilize Oasis for either on-chain privacy or any verifiable off-chain compute. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Another one on this topic. Are there any examples from your past collaborations with other L1s that could serve as a model for how Oasis and Nibiru might work together? I think I can go first on this. So we have worked with Zeph and like I previously mentioned, WT3, who built privacy first AI as well as decentralized trading tool using Roffer, and shows how our TE-based framework enhances L1 ecosystem. We could similarly empower Nibiru's devs to integrate Roffer for confidential DeFi, adding privacy without disrupting your EVM workflows, like I mentioned previously as well. And also, as mentioned, Telos is an agent built natively on Arbitrum. The app itself was just Rofferized, which means Dockerizing it, registering on our chain, and using the decentralized key management out of the box. the agent doesn't do any actions on our chain. So all transactions are basically signed on Arbitrum. So what do you think? Any perspective?
I mean, that sounds interesting. We've never, like in our case, we haven't done something like that before with like something like a privacy stack. I think all of the past integrations that are with like other L1s were either on the IBC side, right? So they were also built with like Cosmos SDK. And so working with like Axelar for bridging, or like Noble to get access to like native minted USDC, or just like interoperability partners, right? Like we do a lot of stuff with Layer 0, but we haven't done anything with like another L1 yet in terms of like direct outsource of like a computation or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, it sounds interesting, but yeah, it would be net new for us.
Awesome. And let's shift gears to community. I want to talk a little bit about community as well. And how do you see communities driving adoption for Web3 projects like Oasis and Nibiru?
Yeah, I mean, community is like your main, like, I guess you could say one of your main drivers of, or signals of actual adoption, right? Because it's community. You really, your tech succeeding in Web3 is really about like the community aligning around values and tools that they actually use, right? And so, I mean, for Nibiru, that means like building a user base of like traders, liquidity providers, developers who want speed and transparency, right? For Oasis, it's a community that like values privacy, among the things that Nibiru cares about too. And then I guess the exciting part is like when these two different bodies can overlap, we'll have like transparency and settlement, but like privacy and strategy. So I think that can be like a cool nucleus for like new growth. But yeah, I guess actually, yeah, I would leave it at that. Probably that'd be my take on that question.
Yeah, I definitely agree on this as well. And I think communities are like the backbone, like everyone always say, right? The backbone of like Web3 adoption and spreading awareness as well as driving innovation. And so Oasis privacy-focused community, developers, validators, and also our sentinels basically champions the offer by building and also promoting confidential dApps through all programs like our Sentinel program as well as the Oasis Academy. So yeah, and I think here's another good one, right? So why did Nibiru stands out to Oasis as a potential partner? I think I can go first on this one, because I think what really impresses us about Nibiru is their clear product direction in DeFi and also strong execution capacity. And you guys are building real financial primitives, but with a community-first mindset. So this is one of the key values that we are looking for as well. And we saw an opportunity where we could complement each other. So basically Nibiru as the DeFi powerhouse and Oasis as the privacy infra that help those products reach mainstream adoption. Unique, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's similar to how I interpret it. Just like hearing about your team and reading up on the stack, it's like Oasis would represent like something we know that will matter for the next wave of adoption, because it's adding flexibility of choice. So some users want all public transparent rails, and others want some level of confidentiality. And so being able to like partner, integrate could be, well, it's useful for both communities, but lets us offer both on Nibiru without like compromising on performance. So yeah.
Awesome. Okay, let's move on to another team. It's called Future Outlook. So looking ahead, do you see Nibiru expanding beyond DeFi into the RWA or GameFi or any AI narratives?
Yeah. So the RWAs would be the most immediate one. In our case, particularly for continuing to onboard traditional assets for things that are like yield bearing that have to do with treasuries, or in the case of Sai, it's like a perpetual stacks built on Nibiru to have access to things like stocks and commodities on the DEX, right? So opening it up to things that people already use a lot in normal finance, but that they can access in DeFi or in Web3. So that'll continue to be like an ongoing effort. I guess out of the three you touched on, gaming and AI, probably I guess AI applications would be more immediate. I mean, with our execution speed and composability, I mean, Nibiru can support a lot of stuff for high frequency, like in-game economies. But it seems like more interest, at least in gaming right now, it's not, the bottleneck isn't like having faster blockchains, but figuring out that balance of like, okay, what pieces of the game actually should be using a blockchain or not, right? Versus, because a lot of aspects of a video game, like maybe you just want the items and like trading aspects of the game, or collectible items that are specific to an account to be on chain, but then keep everything else off, right? As for AI apps, I guess it on-chain infrastructure for like verifiable inference markets could be really interesting, because you want something that like dovetails into like applications that the Web3 user base is already familiar with or has a lot of demand for. So I could see that as being like a natural next step, right? You can, in some sense, like use AI to run something automatic on chain, but not have to give away the parameters of the model, so that you can retain like intellectual property, right? That would be like a, maybe just like off the top of my head, a good use case there. But I guess each of these, anything that has like benefits from fast verifiable settlement with optional privacy. So we would definitely, audio-based for sure, AI second as a priority, and then gaming last there.
Yeah, I was saying the same as well. Like RWA is definitely one of the lowest hanging fruit right now, that you can see like big instis are basically coming in and like trying to tokenize everything. And I would say I would definitely put gaming at last as well, because I know like a lot of big AAA games, like I don't see a need of using blockchain for them, except for maybe like you mentioned, right? Like the trading part, where you basically want to trade like different IPs between different game, maybe into the other metaverses or any kind of things like that, right? So basically blockchain sort of enables that as well. And yeah. Okay. And finally, this is a final question. What would a successful Nibiru look like in 5 years? Could it be measured by TVL, users, or something else?
Yeah, I guess from like a metric standpoint, of course, if you have like, moving up from like, the thousands of users transacting daily up to like in the millions would be like a really good sign of success. If you had like, tens and then hundreds of millions in like TVL or more, right? Just like basically sustained organic volume. Those are like in terms of hard numbers of like you could look at as signs of success. And then obviously if you have a ton of developer activity, right? We would want if people see it as being very easy, fast, and flexible to launch on. So, I mean, I guess you could try to measure that in contracts, but it would be more of like in GitHub or like number of applications you see popping up on DeFi Llama or something. But overall, I guess in the non-quantitative goal would be to like become a backbone for a lot of retail facing apps and institutional adoption, like while keeping things decentralized and community driven. That's like your, hopefully that should be like everyone's like 5-year objective in the space, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree as well. Like users is also one of our main sort of key for success as well. Like we want to onboard like if possible, we want to onboard like the next million users that is interacting with Web3 apps, where privacy is seamlessly built into it, like without even them noticing. So I think that is one of the goal as well for us. All right. So that brings us to the end of today's AMA. Just want to give a huge shout out to Unique for joining us today and for sharing your vision as well as Nibiru's vision. And of course, a huge shout out to the community for being a part of this discussion. We are genuinely excited about what Oasis and Nibiru can build together, combining DeFi innovation with privacy-first infra to bring Web3 closer to mass adoption. So thanks again, everyone, and stay tuned for more updates from both of us, Oasis and Nibiru. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.